All right, welcome back. I am reviewing Season 2, Episode 2, Sausage Party Foodtopia, an episode that I was supervising animation on, and we are looking at the third part around the 6-minute 30 mark to around 9 minutes 30 with our road trip. Now, Jack has taken our food, Sammy and Frank and Barry, and we are headed towards Foodtopia. So let's take a look. We're going to be watching this at 1/4 speed. So Sammy is telling his story here. He's going on this big soliloquy that goes on for a few minutes. And what it does is it helps us cover a lot of ground in Jack's journey as he's taking the food to try and find Foodtopia. Frank, there's a lot of development here with the characters. That's the point of this. It's not just getting from A to B. Well, first of all, we've got Barry driving Jack, which is a whole story point that if you haven't seen the episode yet, you should go see the episode if you have that kind of aesthetic appreciation, because the way that Barry drives Jack, it's a whole thing. This shot here, this is done by an animator that I've worked with over the years, Waterproof, and on Sausage Party here. Look at that, squash and stretch. That's just gorgeous. The scene went through, and then boom, this scene went through several different iterations of how cartoony was it going to be, how agile was Jack going to be, what was the point? Was he going to do this somersault and land and keep going? No, he's not that. He's not that practiced. Barry is driving him, and he could do some pretty remarkable stuff, but he's not going to stick the landing. So yeah, eventually he just lands on his face, and then whoop, squashy stretchy gets up. Shots like this, this show was really well storyboarded. When you got somebody that's disappearing and coming over the hill, you're playing peekaboo there. So really nice visual contrast. Here when we do this extreme close-up of Jack, that's to show how tired he's getting, show the progression, this hot day, the beads of sweat on his face. I really like cameras like this. Again, dependent on really good storyboards that we had. We're just gonna put the camera in the middle of the road. We're at about waist height. We're just gonna hold it there. We're just gonna show this hot day. We're just gonna show Jack running towards us, and it's going to lead into boom, completely different shot, completely different Maya file. And that's it's moving quickly enough that we can cover that up, that make it work, and that we can see that we're telling the story that we want to get inside the cockpit, as we called it, and we want to get to that close-up of Barry, and he's trying to deal with the sweat traveling down his face there, and he's got to reach out and get part of the pocket, which was, I remember, a challenging thing to be rigged, and we only had it for this one shot, so we just had to make it work. It's just a lot of funny gags in this show. You can see this road here. You can see we don't see all the way down. We're not showing the vanishing point on the road. We try and avoid that as much as possible. You see we've got an upshot here. We're not going to show that vanishing point on the road because the road we had was actually not very long. It was only about 5 telephone poles long, and then we would have to bring in another asset, all the way off into the distance. So when it came to comp and lighting and effects, they often had to put matte paintings back there to make it all work. So we just, maybe in a dozen shots, we showed the vanishing point. Not even that many, probably. And just made it work otherwise. Here, Frank is just getting fed up. You can see all the overlap going on. Whenever it comes to a close-up shot like this, Jack's up-down on the run is going to be limited greatly because we want to be focusing on Frank and Sammy here. We don't want them to be going up and down in screen like this. So whenever we've got a wide shot, we can go really big with Jack's motion. Whenever we cut to the close-up of Jack and a medium shot or wide shot of our smaller characters, the food characters, we had to say, okay, everything's like 90% less. And Barry's going to stop Jack here. Oh, there's all our overlap. Sammy and Frank are almost falling off. Whew, and Jack is reacting appropriately to Barry's punching him. No worries. We're actually right at the second. And Sammy is just going on and on with his screenplay ideas here. Again, we're not moving Jack too much here. We want to just really be focusing on Sammy's acting. We go to a wider shot. Now Jack can be moving more. How much further, Jack? Just little movements like that. I really, the cartoony, squashy, stretchy nature of this show was very freeing. There was a lot of ideas that the animators could put into it. Really nice, starting in close there and pulling back. Extreme upshot on Jack. We don't have to see the background. We don't want to see the background. We want to focus on seeing all three of our food characters and Jack. There's a big challenge in this entire episode, this entire show, whenever you've got a human character involved. Compositionally, we got to show, and it was a cheat there because we had a very similar angle on Jack's face from the down shot to the just looking straight at him shot, and you know it's about selling the emotion. So we're not going to say, well, we have to have absolute continuity when it comes to the two shots. We want to show the facial expression clearly. So yeah, we can forgive a bit of continuity. Squash and stretch on the head. This is one of those shows. I really like this too, where we've got Jack, and technically he would be turned fully away from us as he's talking, but we're going to cheat him towards the camera so we can see his facial expression as he's looking in the cactus over his shoulder there. So he's working with the food the best he can. Barry, can you find a clever way? And you get the nice hand overlap, the fingers dragging there until we get to the constraint. Hands come down. Sure thing, Jack. Zoop. And Jack is reacting immediately, once again, to Barry driving. The fact that the food has teeth is always just such a funny thing. So Jack's coming over, big, woof, cartoony moment, squashy stretch with the hand. Now, look at these beats here. 1, 2, 3, react, take 4. And then we have the camera smash out to really help sell that take. And the throbbing of the hand there. And low focal length. Yeah, that's a really effective shot. Terrific animation. And, these shots, this show is done on a pretty tight timeline. The fact that, the animators do their own cameras, set up the layout, go through a primary and secondary pass. Oh, yeah, look at this here. Poof! He has to get down there and grab that little piece of cactus. So how are we going to do it? Well, let's see. We could, have him step forward and kind of grab it, or we could just get him down there in one motion. And look at this here. We didn't have any of these assets to work with inside the cactus, so we're imagining what the water's going to look like. There's one drop of cactus juice. Jack wants more. There's got to be more in there. And so we're shaking an animation, but we don't actually have any assets that come out. And this is where effects comes in, and they put in the dozens of spiders that Jack is swallowing and going to be spitting out. And so when we're spitting, when we're doing that animation for the spitting, it's just pretending to spit something, and then effects will match up to that. Look at the tongue there. Again, when we cut to a close-up here, Jack is going to be moving around a lot as he just spit these spiders out, but we want to see Sammy and Frank clearly. So we're going to reduce that motion. We're going to focus on the storytelling. But tink! Just tie it all together, and we're going to call back to the spiders one more time. There it is. Spiders want back in their cactus. They're all over the ground. We see Jack running away. We don't need continuity directly from the previous shot. We don't need to see Jack say, oh, well, I'm going to turn and start running. It's fine that we cut and he's running already because we're telling the story. We're setting the stage. I like this shot. We do see the horizon line there. That's just all painted back there. It's cheated. And we're just moving back slowly, revealing the hot desert and, moving with Jack. So he's staying stationary in the shot there. At this point, everybody's sleeping. Barry's just, keeping Jack going. He's completely exhausted. Where am I? How am I running? And, that's Sammy's almost falling off from the shock that Jack's going through. Whenever you've got the characters on Jack's shoulder, there's always a lot of overlap there. We can't have them just stiffly stuck to Jack's shoulder. Even Sammy gets up there. Dunk. Nice squash and stretch. And we're going to have him running in. Yep, and wipe the screen. Look at this shot. Look at the camera right on the ground here. This is terrific. We get to see these little lines. And again, in animation, in Maya, we wouldn't see the texture on the ground. We would just trust that as we're moving the camera slowly back at worm's eye view, that it's going to sell with that texture. And totally does. We rely on the other departments to help make that all work. And Jack's, we made it! The food doesn't have a lot of respect for Jack's intelligence. So Frank is like, yeah, we made it. Well, Frank's not that smart either. And Sammy's like, yeah, this is your town, a long hole. And along a hole, as Sammy says hole, he gets the O perfectly round in his mouth so he can see through to the background. I've always loved this character design where you can see what's revealed behind him through, his lip sync. Again, a wider shot, medium shot on Jack there, medium close up, or medium shot. But we can have him moving a lot more. And that way we can have Barry reacting a lot more when he's moving around. Way to go, Jack! Yeah, they're all friends. They want to be, at least. Sammy's all, you deserve the dignity of passing the threshold of your hometown on your own 2 feet. On your own two feet. There we go. Boom! Barry jumps into the pocket. This was complicated. Stretching down to the ground there. Collapsing. Jack's exhausted. Quiver on the arms. Gonna get back. Okay, he's pushing himself back to his feet. Oh, waver, waver, waver. And nope. Legs aren't gonna hold him. These legs, I remember, we had to translate these hips out. So, because Jack's default hips were so close together, there was no way he was going to be able to assume this pose. So, and now they're all cheering for Jack, and we're going to go through this big progression in this shot, where Jack he's starting out defeated, exhausted, but with his friends, he can get up, he can overcome this. It's a long shot. There's a lot of acting to do here. It's a very challenging animation shot to do the storytelling, the whole beginning, middle, end of this. Jack's starting forward, baby steps. He's wobbling, but he's not going to fall. We see his expression, he's concerned, but no, he's starting to get more confident now. Yeah, I can do this, okay. And then we get to see, look at that loving expression there. And Jack gets to have that moment of victory before he looks ahead and sees what's going on. And he's like, well, actually, you guys, eye direction was always a big challenge in this show. We had to make it really, really clear. So even though sometimes it worked in 3D space, we had to cheat it to work in from the camera view. And this is looking pretty unstable. This whole tunnel here is it's going to be a whole story in the next section. I don't know how safe this is. Yeah, it's definitely unsafe. There is not a lot of structural integrity to this tunnel now that the apocalypse has hit. Look at that nice line of action on Jack's head there. Everybody's going to jump in the pockets where it's nice and safe. Barry's going to roll his eyes, squash and stretch out of there. Total cheat on these pockets. As long as we have the pocket bulging, we can assume the character's in there, even if it's, technically not in there. And there goes Jack's shoulders back down to his default. This is where his shoulders normally are, very, very low. He had to have them high up for when, Sammy and Frank were on there, just because it wasn't going to work on his default shoulders. And this is where we're going to end this section. Jack is starting off into the tunnel. And this tunnel turns into a whole adventure to get him through and to the other side, working their way towards Foodtopia. All right. Yeah, it's a fun show. I like going through all this, reliving it, appreciating the people I worked with, and good memories from the show. More than 2 years ago I worked on this already. So go check this out on Amazon Prime, and we'll see you next time for the next section. Thanks.